Why, here we are. Hello, everybody. And I'm decorated. Do you like that? I am decorated. I'm ready to go. Hey, everybody. Welcome. Welcome so much to my midnight rambling, whatever time this is. Brandon, yeah. Hi, how are you? We're here. IMO. Hey, Uric. Melissa, good to see you. How are you? Debbie, good to see you too. Phoenix Night Rose, thank you again. Hey, listen, guys, I do have some news and notes to make you aware of this. Very festive. Yeah, the lights will stay up till June, just to let you know. Here I am, December 12th, getting them up there. So, hey, Gigi, how are you? Brenda, how are you, Brenda? Jean, how are you? Tell us something good. Listen, I'm nothing but good news here, people. Here's the thing. Sun came up today, got a roof over your head. Everything else is figure outable, right? We're not in fight or flight mode, everybody. This is an announcement. We are not in fight or flight mode. What we are is in do we know who we are mode. So news and notes, if you like this show, and she's probably going to pop on here at some point. So, Psychic Sleuth and I are going to get together and do a little podcast work on Thursday night, 8 o'clock Eastern, 6 Mountain Time. I don't know where we're going. I don't know what we're doing, but I sure know where we've been. Hanging on the promises, the songs of yesterday. Well, I've made up my mind. I'm not wasting no more time. Hey, Judy, how are you? Renee, good to see you as well. Jess, welcome. So glad you guys are popping in here. So she and I are going to be doing our stuff. I know some of you guys already follow her. She and I are going to do, kind of a classic shared screen format. I'm also going to be, didn't you used to be Brandon, the world-renowned psychic? Something like that. I am a medium. I have a book, a YouTube channel. I travel the world, all that other good stuff. I am due for a haircut. Got it. It's starting to look a little, because it's up here, guys. It's like, whatever. And by the way, just to dispel a couple of rumors right now, I am not the target Santa. Thank you very much for tuning in. I am not the target Santa. Thank you so much for the people that have kind of like been asking me that. Also, your photographs are descriptive, and I want to thank you for that. Little awkward when I'm like opening it up when I'm in line at the Stewart's. Oh yeah, the target Santa. Go look him up. He's a great haired dad bod. Just saying. And there's a few differences. That target Santa doesn't have baby blues. I'm just letting you know. I mean, you guys would figure it out quick. I know you guys. You guys would just be like, you're not the real Santa. And I'd be, Jacqueline, thanks so much for joining us here. Jacqueline just became a new member. And by the way, guys, thanks so much for the membership stuff. We are going at a snail's pace, shot out of a rocket all at the same time. I have some major changes coming up here in the new year. I'm actually adding staff, which is something that I've always dreamed of having. And now I'm just biting the bullet and doing it. We're going to be restructuring some things, some other podcast stuff that I've kind of been working on behind the scenes, and the work that I do with authors and other mediums and other, gifted, energetic people. And if you're one of them, shoot me a message. I'd be happy to talk to you about this. We're going to have an entire suite of services that you need. You probably already follow me on the TikTok. I'm going to be doing some live TikToking throughout the week here as well. I have an awesome Katie Mod, we call her. She's going to be doing some stuff with us on that. We've also got some studio stuff changing. We've got a studio person coming in. You're going to see a lot more edits of me out there, some clips and that sort of thing. I just don't have the time. I do so many readings in a day, so it just kind of becomes like, what do I spend my time on? I also have some music coming out. Those of you that have enjoyed that, I have a winter song that I tend to do. Hey, Patty, how are you? So there'll be some more. Yes, I am on TikTok. I'm the tick to the talk. I do live reading. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Renee, absolutely. Send me and you know what? I'm going to put my email on here. I know you guys aren't going to, spam me. Not that you can't find it on my website anyways, but .com, where basically it's an entire suite of things that you're going to need, whether you're doing podcasting, audiobooks, that sort of thing, whether you want me to read them, whether you want somebody else to use it. Oh yeah, IMO. I love that. The humanity will ever learn about humility. Well, hang on, because we got a CEO that we got to talk about. We also have to talk about Damascus falling. We have to talk about South Korea having a no vote of against martial law. We have to talk about the French government falling apart. We have to talk about the Mali government falling apart. We have to talk about, oh my gosh, there are so many things. Like, have you guys noticed like governments are falling right now? I love it. Renee, let's connect. And actually, let's have you on mine too. I'm a pretty good interview. I enjoy this stuff. Start using to and uncover stuff. Oh my gosh, did I just use the wrong one? I'm totally using the wrong one, guys. Sugar. I'm totally using the wrong. This is why I need staff. We're going to be doing some shuffle up and healing today. And we're going to change that there. We're going to get my baby blues in there. We're going to go there. And then we're going to go Brandon. Shuffle up and confuse. Here we go. Shuffle up and confuse. And then we're going to go like world politics failing. By the way, this is what you get with, and I'm going to be an astrologer for a couple of minutes here. So you've got a couple of things going on here astrologically. The biggest thing that you're seeing in this transit of Uranus through Taurus, it is conjunct. Uranus is currently at 23 degrees, and the 26 degrees, 10 minutes is the fixed star of Algol, right? We are going to see things come undone. First will be political. Second will be religious. Third will be financial. I'm just letting you guys know. So, called him the governor of Canada. Guys, we're just in, like, if you don't laugh, you cry. He's wholly unqualified for the presidency, to be the CEO, to be human. Like, there's a lot of shit he's not qualified for, right? And I'm not crude about it. I'm just really direct about it. And I think a lot of people don't recognize how much. So let's talk about the cycle that we've been in. So we are a full 20, 35 days from the election, from us waking up to hearing that Kamala Harris just didn't even get enough votes to get out of a paper bag. They made it look like Biden stole the election because of the bump in the numbers. We intuitives, the people that are tuned to the energy of things, it's not just because we lived in a vacuum. It's not because we lived in a bubble. And, there was a lot of people where it's called parochialism, by the way, where parochialism is where if there's 5 people in your office and you're like, who are you voting for? 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 And you get 5 Kamala Harrises plus you're like, this is going to be a landslide, right? So there was a lot of that going on, and there's a lot of things that they're blaming on that. Like, as in, like, okay, well, you were in your bubble. You were in the bubble, right? You watched MSNBC be in the bubble. They weren't really in the bubble, guys. And legacy news, and this is where I'm going with this, and I'm going to be, I'm leaking this out. And Renee, I'd like you to come along on this because something's telling me we got to do this, right? I'm going to start a news channel based on the energy and mediumship, and to have a take on this. It's going to be based on reality. We're going to use things like facts, but we're also going to talk about things of intuition. We're going to be practical about it. We're also going to be very clear cognizant with the things that we talk about. And we have a rule of ethics. And we have an understanding that, you just don't walk around and saying, well, I feel like you need to give me your French fries, right? Like every good medium is talk somebody out of French fries. Like, French fries will kill you. You should probably give those to me. I mean, listen, you guys saw my podcast with my sister. She was long tortured with me talking to her about things that she should or shouldn't do. And it was really just a grift for me to get her fries, right? Well, I'm paying the price now, right? But to start this with really intelligent, well put together people that are willing to challenge the narrative and to be able to approach this. I am seeing Marianne Williams fail us like six ways to Sunday, just like Dorian Virtue did, just like whatever. Owning a publishing company will put me in position to fight any of the First Amendment challenges that might come up. Anybody that we work with, I will strongly suggest. Isn't that interesting, Jacqueline? New Zealand has decided to ban debates. Like, and somebody asked me on my feed, and by the way, in case you don't know, I really do schedule time every week to go through the comments. Like, I always do the quick scan to make sure somebody's going, buy my series of things that you can become a better shiny person. I get rid of that stuff very fast, right? But I do return the favor. Like, if you take the time to ask me a specific question or want to comment on something, I mean, it's great when you guys are like, yeah, I agree. But by the way, can you say I agree with you on this? Because I don't always know what you're agreeing with me on. I mean, or I disagree with you. Like, okay, I'm cool for the debate. By the way, this is what grown-ups do. Grown-ups can have intelligent conversations and debate this stuff. I can debate a Trump person until they say, well, look at Biden. It's like, that's not a fucking argument. That is not an argument. And to design this, kind of, company in a way, somebody asked me what I thought of Joe Rogan. And I have gone everywhere from the fan to the critic on him. This is my fandom on him, and I'm just being realistic. And some of you are going to be like, if you like him at all, I understand. I understand. Let me get to the visceral effect of it too. The one thing that Joe Rogan does really, really well, he actually does a series of things well, but it's packaged in one thing, and that is he has this long form of. I'm going to circle back to that, like. One of the challenges that we have in legacy media is that we have this very short, clippy thing. And I'm not saying that that's not people's attention span, but people are reconditioning themselves to the long play. People are reconditioning themselves to being able to go into, going into I'm going to put this on in the background and hear what they have to say. So I'm going to do my busy work at work, but I'm going to listen to a 3-hour podcast or 2-hour podcast or a show or whatever the deal is, right? When I was doing some development work for the History Channel, they were really interested in what Penny and I were doing about astrology. We would take like, Pompeii and talk about that and be like, well, astrologically, this is what was going on. We show where Uranus was and all this other stuff. Really cool concept and idea. And they basically wanted to turn it into an hour-long show with like the 5 facts we could come up with. And I'm like, so let me get this straight. You're going to do this. You're going to basically create a show of us going hemming and hawing on certain things, and like an historian talking about what it was like in Pompeii and what it was like in a volcano expert. And then, here you go and try and find, facts and whatever. And are we going to be, is it about astrology or are we just doing a segment on astrology? So there was a lot of stuff that needed to be ironed out that never did. And one of the things, and by the way, I own the rights to it, so I should probably start a channel. Anyways, the conversation for me is, for Joe Rogan, is that he does this long form where he does the rabbit hole dive, and he does do the what if, and he has given voices to people where you finally know the other side, where it's the anti-establishment narrative, right? Well, one of the challenges that Kamala Harris had in this election cycle was that she was relying on legacy media to sound clip the shit out of her and make her popular. Where in the bubble, it was go Kamala. In the bigger construct, it wasn't necessarily that, because where one side was getting the clip thing of like, yes, we have momentum. Yes, we're going to do this. And yes, we're going to go get it. On the other side, they were listening to Donald Trump for 3 hours. And listen, for right or wrong, Donald Trump got press every single day. He got more press than Joe Biden did during Joe Biden's presidency. Donald Trump would say the most outrageous things, and we'd sit there and go, what? It was a strategy, guys. It was 100% what he was doing. So, that being said, sitting back and going, energetic. And by the way, don't think that you have to have a political slant for this channel. Don't think that you have to kind of have a whirly. You need to be able to carry the conversation and question the narrative. You have to be able to question where we're at in things. There are people that need help spiritually right now. There are people that need help with their health. There are people that need help with their relationships. And as in astrology has things to do with that. You can pull a tarot reading on it. I can connect with your loved ones in order to kind of project how this is a cycle. Like, hey, we've been doing this for years. Why change today? Whoa. There's a lot of dynamics to this. And by the way, I think the world is ready for this. I think when I first came up with this construct about 10 years ago, and very long story short, I'll give you my background. I had a wellness center. I had 28 practitioners working under me. The rooms were for rent. It was kind of a molded model where it was kind of half in between, like a lawyer's like ownership type of thing, where there'd be like a central, kind of a central office unit where it's like, do you need an advertisement? Do you need a whatever? Do you need it promoted? Do you need an email written? That sort of thing, right? And then on the other side, by the way, I'll get to your comments here in a second. And then you would just rent the rooms as you needed them. So it was kind of like a salon business plan as well. So it was the two of those kind of molded together. And it worked really well for about 3 years. And it did okay. There were internal pressures. I had some wrong people in the wrong spots. I can go on for days about that. A lot of people I realized just wanted to be around me and would yes me to death. And that's not how I work. Like, I like pushback. I like people to be able to kind of say like, hey, doesn't really make sense for you to do it this way. Why don't you do it this way? I didn't have that around me after a while. And I was really kind of on an island. COVID hit, had to close. And then I just started doing YouTube stuff where I was just like, okay, well, I can't get the people in here. I'm going to start doing this. Meanwhile, I was always doing readings online. I was always projecting, I was putting it out there. I was pretty consistent with this work. But like a lot of people after COVID, I was like, what the hell am I going to do? And then I'm like, well, I've got this microphone. I had already done a podcast for about 2 months. Boy, you guys are having fun over here. Fast forward to this, I've always really looked for how light workers need support in the business world, because they tend to be really good at the light work stuff. I don't care if it's Reiki. I don't care if it's cranial sacral. I don't care if it's yoga. I don't care if it's Akashic work, past life work, mediumship, tarot, pendulum, dowsing, whatever. They get really good. If they're going to do what they're supposed to do, they're going to get really good at that. Well, why not have a partner in this that can help you with the TikTok world, with the, YouTube world, with the whatever world? And with that in mind, I think that this is going to be kind of a very good inlay where, there's personal investment involved. I'm not going to, I'm not independently wealthy, but if you minimize this and then you figure out how to profit share it afterwards, it turns into a really cool project. It is 100%. I'm designing this company through the age of Aquarius. Like, what is going to be required of us? My personal accountability, along with your personal accountability. What do we need to do? Any of the other pieces that come in. And we don't have unnecessary pieces, because one of the things that you need in the age of Aquarius is everybody pulls their weight. So the reason why I'm talking about all of this stuff is because on the outside, it looks very counterculture-ish, right? However, it is the exact model that the United States government needs to start fucking following. So instead of sitting there going, yeah, that's a problem we just can't solve because we politicize it and then we wait for the next cycle to fix it, and the problem gets worse. The immigration problem in this country, and it is a problem, is our own doing. Is because nobody has actually looked at it and said, you know what, I'm going to actually fix the processing that needs to go on. Oh, and by the way, somebody else told me Ireland is having a huge problem right now with immigration as well. And what they're doing, they're protesting, and they're actually saying, how can we not put a cap on this? And by the way, is a cap a good thing, not a good thing? Ireland has a very unique set of circumstances because a lot of their immigrants are from England, as well as the Middle East, as well as from India. Or I should say, the subcontinent, if you will, Pakistan, Indonesia, whatever. And Ireland's process is broken because they tend to just say yes. Where in the US, they just cross the border and then they go, ha, asylum. Where in Ireland, they've got to get a plane ticket. They got to go through customs. They get them through. Like, they're not swimming. They're not swimming to Ireland. The English folks are able to come back and forth. And then they, when they start to rent or they buy a property, that's when they realize, oh, what are you doing here? Like, how are you going to do this? Well, they have to declare it and do all this stuff. The Irish are rebelling against immigration as well. Now, am I telling you to send them back home? Absolutely not. Come on. What I am saying is you can do it better. We have to get obsessed with the solutions, not obsessed with the problem. We love the problem because it politically behooves us to push it down the road, to either have it be on somebody else's head at an attempt or go down another path to just make it not your problem, right? You can have other wins. By the way, Joe Biden's economy is one of the best in the history of the world. One of the best. Good behavior isn't being rewarded. He was run out of his own party. And by the way, as an older man, mistakes have been made up and down. He had a really great economy. And if Kamala was going to be the person that was going to take over, year 2 and 3 should have been her limelight years. She should have been knocking stuff out of the park. See, this is why I don't believe that when they say, hey, this was a planned thing from the start. It wasn't, because they would have done a much better job at making Kamala be in the limelight of things. And she would have tackled bigger things, and she would have kind of gone down that road. I mean, we really don't, we're talking about only having a one political party right now. I don't think we have any, to be honest with you. I think a third party is going to come up. And I think it's going to be one of those things that when we get there, I think that third party is going to look like a very liberal libertarian. Hey, Trish. Hey, Golden Light Tarot. How are you? Thank you. Jess, how are you? Good to see you too. Serena, wonderful to have you on board. Yeah, there wasn't enough time to do that, Renee. And it's interesting too, because I'm going to scroll up here a little bit and grab some of your other comments as well. I think we're really headed towards a dynamic that, guys, we're on our own, right? We have people that are being appointed to the DOJ. You look at what's happening in Israel right now, and you're looking at how Hamas is whatever. I mean, poor Marco Rubio is flipping out right now because the entire Middle East is falling apart without him pushing the domino. He is flipping out. He's like, can you wait like 3 more weeks so I can break it? Let me break it in my turn. And then they want to put in Matt Gaetz onto, or Laura Trump in Matt Gaetz's, representatives. It's just one bad decision after another. Meanwhile, there are 3 people that have been nominated by the Trump administration that have been or currently on the CIA watch list as intelligent assets for other countries. Tulsi Gabbard is a Russian spy because she has literally handed Russia from time to time sensitive information that she received when she was serving in the House. She was in the House. What was it? International. She was on an international affairs committee, and she was basically sitting down with Russian assets and going, "So this is what we have on you." Like the woefully underqualified. And by the way, say what you want about Joe Biden, every one of his seats were pretty well filled. I mean, underneath it, there might have been some, quote unquote DEI hires or whatever, which is absolute horseshit, by the way. I don't believe in that crap at all. On both sides, I don't believe we need it. I also don't believe that it goes on to the point of turpitude. I don't think that it goes on to a point of, meanwhile, people are posting, and by the way, have you noticed the rhetoric calmed right down when they started getting what they wanted? Relax, everybody. We'll get ramped up. By the way, follow me on Blue Sky at I am Lilith 11. I now have 2 posts out. And by the way, you're going to see what I'm doing here shortly. I do a little social experiment on the side. I am Lilith 11. The interesting thing about how we are starting to recognize that we're being taken over. You have Stephen Miller in the White House, who is honestly one of the most dangerous people in the world, in my book. He is a profound white supremacist. He does not embrace the Constitution in any way, shape, or form. He thinks every rule is meant to be broken. He penned the Muslim ban in his first administration, and not only did it get struck down, they basically said this is the most un-American thing we've ever tried to employ, right? And then you have, but when you look at our history, how do we get here? And we keep asking ourselves, how do we get here? How do we get here? How do we get here? We got here because we didn't hold anybody accountable for 9/11. We got here because we didn't hold anybody accountable for the financial crisis, right? And by the way, we're going to get to the CEO stuff here in a second because, and I couldn't talk about it until now because I had been asked to contribute my talent to thing. And I cannot talk about the details on it, but understand that in what we thought was pretty seal tight. It's not. As a matter of fact, it's also very wishy-washy right now with our Supreme Court. It is also very, how do I want to say this? If you think that we have a system that can't be changed, part of the reason why we're fearful right now is because we are in a very tumultuous moment, because up is down and down is up. This is Saturn in Pisces in retrograde, by the way. This is where you're in a position where you begin to say to yourself that you have a leg to stand on. Well, they won't do this because we eventually have that. We won't do that because we eventually have this. Well, we have the Constitution, everybody. And then we get all excited about the Constitution, right? And then they're like, this Constitution isn't applicable on Tuesdays. And then all of a sudden we start saying, to ourselves, like, okay, well, where's our footing? Like, we don't mind climbing a mountain, right? We don't mind, we don't mind, or we didn't mind sending our children to war in the sake of, in the guise of, democracy, whatever the fuck that is now. We don't live in a democracy anymore, guys. Right? We also don't live in a capitalistic society. We actually live in a hybrid of socialism, which looks like Marxism, but it's really not. And it looks like a little bit of communism, but communism kind of rolls on that fine line of having elements of everything being socialistic. Well, ask yourself this question. If communism is so bad, why do they have so many oligarchs? They have over like 200 oligarchs, which, by the way, oligarchs just means state allowed millionaires. They own the businesses, but they have all of these other things. So how is communism that, by the way, how is communism that different from our capitalistic democracy? The problem is that we get in absolutes. By the way, the second thing this country needs to do is understand that absolutes do not work. We are not the greatest at anything. We're just not. We are not, there is no best of anything. It is a constant process of evaluation and improvement. But we're so goddamn busy being number one. I once worked with a car company. He was a local car company in upstate New York. And he kept, his logo was, "My dad is number one." It was a way to get his kid in the videos and blah, 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 whatever. And this is in like the early 90s into 2000. I ended up working with this guy. He couldn't figure out why his sales were crap. And I said, well, because you're too busy telling everybody you're number one and not working on being number one. You know, find me the sweet spot of, I'm going to use a football reference here. The Minnesota Vikings are second behind the colossus called the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions are a fantastic football team. I can't knock them. But the Minnesota Vikings were picked to come in dead last in the conference. Forget about in the division, in the conference. They were like, well, they're a 3-team win. They're going to beat Carroll. They're going to beat the other strugglers, right? They're going to have like 5 or 6 games and they'll come out ahead. Yeah. They got their 11th win. They qualified for the playoffs already. They are manhandling teams when they can. And the 2 games that they lost are against other really good teams that do something very specific. By the way, one of the losses that they had were against that Colossus Detroit Lions. See you last game of the season, you suckers. They also played his old mentor, who knew how he acted, the coach rather, KOC, and knew exactly what was going on. So there's like, unless there's like a juggernaut or somebody that knows your weakness playing against you, he's a pretty good football team, right? Kevin O'Connor is a top flight coach. Here's the reason why he's a top flight coach. Because he worked within the parameters of the NFL collective bargaining agreements, salary cap, keeping certain talent, letting other talent go. Like he knew what he could replace it with and all this other stuff. And when new money comes in versus old money and old contracts and blah, blah, blah. There's a bunch of rules with that. They knew how to work that. So they knew the business end of the X's and O's. They signed a number 3 overall pick just 4 years ago, and has floundered because he's had one bad coaching staff after another coaching him. And then they bring him in, and all of a sudden, all those tools that made him a number 3 pick overall are being utilized because they figured out how he worked and what he did best. Now, why am I bringing this up? If you're going to sit there and talk about how great you are all the time, you're never going to have the reflection of saying, this is what would make me better. This country needs a huge dose of humility. On one side, we're going to make America great again. Absent-minded, empty superlatives. What does any of that mean? It means we're going to inspire you to feel like you can be part of something bigger again. Right? On the other side, it's we're not going back. also empty diatribes about who we were. What did that mean? We're not going back, I guess. Not going back to Trump? Well, that battle cry was also had a lot to do with we're not going back to the old regime ways of how politics run. We're sitting here in the middle of a Mercury retrograde. Yes, Melissa. And we're sitting here with Saturn in retrograde. And we've got Mars in opposition with Pluto. Oh, how delicious. By the way, I'm calling my shot here. We are going to have a major earthquake here in the Earth. I'm just going to say it that way. Between here and New Year's. It's going to be huge. I think that the tsunami warning off the coast of San Diego was a releaser. And I think that there's going to be a major earthquake that will affect a lot of people. And the reason why I bring that up is because the astrology backs it up. Oh, and by the way, keep calling me woo-woo because I'm like unfucking defeated with this stuff. Like, okay, here you go. Astrology is becoming fact. Albeit you're looking at it from the back end of it. There's a value system that we have to start recognizing that guess what? We have the ability to change and look at ourselves when... Oh, you froze when you said you've been asked to contribute your talents to. Oh, I'm going to talk about that with the CEO stuff here in a second. Do we have the opportunity to say to ourselves, what is ego? What is good ego? What is not so good ego? Not so good ego is when you're hurt because it didn't go your way. Good ego is when you say, I'm going to get up tomorrow and do it again. And I'm going to try harder and I'm going to figure out a different way. Right? I can't wait for Kevin O'Connor to go up against the Rams again. I cannot wait for Kevin O'Connor to go up against the Detroit Lions again. Because that sneaky mother, he's on our team, is like a velociraptor. He's figuring out the weaknesses. He's a smart cookie with that. Right? Woulda, coulda, shoulda. Love to see you there. Yeah, there's something going on there. You know that. You actually includes psych assessments. I love that. Person's Chiron. Oh my God, Renee, how are we not besties? I love everything about that. We need to compare notes. I'm more than happy to share with you what I do when I talk to corporations, as well as when I talk to C-level people to kind of help their stuff. So let's get to the CEO stuff. And by the way, nobody is celebrating this. Just I'm going to preemptively tell you, nobody is celebrating this. When Luigi Mangione was picked up, he was in flight. When it's funny, they no longer actually use his name anymore. Isn't that crazy? I mean, he was just murdered. And by the way, he was not assassinated. He was murdered. We have enough laws on the books to put somebody away for this, and it's not okay. But they're not using Brian Thompson anymore in the name. By the way, a new CEO has already been named. So that should tell you that when you think that the company is going to fold after you leave, they rarely even let you get cold, guys. You're going to be replaced. It's the way that runs, right? So, yeah, someone at McDonald's turned him in. And my involvement with this, since I worked with the New York State Police, there was an APB call out to, hey, where's the whereabouts and whatever. And I had somebody kind of through back channels reach out to me and kind of be like, hey, we need your read on this. What's your read on this? And they will specifically, non-specifically ask me what they want. In this case, I think what they wanted was a motive. And I said it has nothing to do with their stock trades. It has everything to do with somebody that is highly intelligent and knows all of this Brian guy's undoings. Like, this is somebody watching him. And I almost kind of turned into a profiler in a way. Isn't it funny that like my curls go around the lights? Thank you. And to just kind of, again, without detail, the 3 times that I spoke to them on this, it was, they knew they were going to catch him. They had gotten enough. They had DNA on him. They had all this stuff. They, honestly, what the police were genuinely worried about? When I say this, it'll make a lot of sense. They knew that it was a targeted thing. They were worried that he was going to target other CEOs or other significant people, and none of them were political. Like they were like, this guy's not going after political people, especially when they saw the casings on the bullets. When in this, though, I mean, my gut and my theory attached to this was he's on the run. He's closer to home than what you think. And this is about him being able to live out of a backpack for the next 6 months if you don't find him. And that's exactly what he was doing. He had IDs, he had cash, he had whatever, right? And you got one person make a minimum wage, recognizes him, calls the police, and then there you go. So, part of the reason why I retire every single time I tend to do a case is because I hear the motives behind it. Sometimes it's not about, there was a missing persons case where it was cold because they were like, are we going to be able to find enough evidence to put this person away? And I'm like, she's still alive, guys. Let's rescue the kid. And those are the types of things that you find yourself saying in these situations where you're like, what the fuck? Like, what? And by the way, these are good people. I think I've, with the probably 4 dozen police officers, rangers, detectives, investigators, internal affairs, whatever, and all those people that I've dealt with, I can tell you 2 of them are no good, filthy humans. The rest of them, though, are caught up in the moment of like, my boss needs this from me. And I think in that moment, I'm that reflection to say to them, we can still find her and she can still be alive. We can still find this guy without a shootout, without him hurting somebody else. I don't think he had the motives to hurt anybody else. I think that he just one day woke up and thought to himself, I'm going to find the most despicable human on earth and do this because there is a message that needs to be sent to the universe. Now, I'm going to say this to the intuitive, enlightened light worker culture that we follow here. Murder's no good. That's on the page, right? We all get that. But when it happens, it is our job to understand that it's not done in futility, right? The fact that he chose to basically ruin his life, right? And some people will call him a hero, that will whatever, and some people will call him reviled. I'm not going to judge him here. Not my job, but my pay grade. The message that was sent with that act is 100% the age of Aquarius. 100%. That CEO had a fiduciary responsibility to the healthcare of the people that subscribe to his services. He systematically introduced software so he didn't have humans making quote unquote approval mistakes. He set up his system to fail the people it was supposed to serve. That is a special kind of hell. And by the way, you're seeing it in the incoming White House. Let's get as many failures in place as we can so we can do whatever we want. We're going to hire the incompetent. We're going to hire the idiot. We're going to hire the person that we know could never do the job right. And we're going to be able to do whatever it is that we need to get wherever it is we want to go. And by the way, Brian leaves behind a family. Brian leaves behind children. But Brian wasn't thinking about his children when he was denying claims for your children. And that's the fucking problem. We have become so detached in what that emotional presentation is that is why narcissism is running rampant. What's in it for me? Do you remember the A-Team, that the most vile person was, this person that was like hurting and harming people on the regular, being a bully? And then Murdoch would come in with B.A. Baracus and Face. And then the crazy guy who actually wasn't all. Oh my gosh. Tracy, thank you for telling me that. I cannot believe that I did this. I started the wrong stream, that's why. I'm going to delete this. I'm so sorry. And I'm going to start broadcasting over on Facebook. I clicked on the wrong one. Those of you that don't know, I'm going to be doing a Thursday night with Psychic Sleuth. That is the thing that I was using, and I'm going to have to figure that out again. I can't believe it even let me do it. I'm so sorry, guys. Guys, I'm so sorry. There is so much that I think that we have to really start to look at. Again, it is not right that a gunman killed a CEO, another human. But that CEO, that tragedy, and it was a murder. It's not an assassination. It was a murder. Needs to send the resonance into. I'm glad you guys came over. Anami, I'd love to talk to you. And by the way, I started out announcing that I am going to be. Oh, look at my numbers just jump right up. Of course, I sent you over here. Announcing that I'm going to be launching More Than a Medium channel. It will have contributors. It will have other like-minded people like us. And I have a publishing company. By the way, this seems to be the channel that seems to have all of these challenges with it. By the way, we're swapping out we're upgrading all of our stuff. Spectrum does not care for me because I've been outspoken with Spectrum, right? Deb, thanks so much for coming on here. Yeah, son of a gun, guys. I'm so sorry. Completely my fault on this too. I just clicked on the wrong thing. Yeah, you were on the wrong stream. My bad. But being able to launch this and have other really kind of cool aspects of, the light workers, a light worker network, and being able to kind of speak things of the truth and be able to kind of explain what's weighted and what's not. I am not afraid of big bad whatever Trump thinks he is. I think he's a blowhard, and I think that, and if I am wrong about that, I'm going to go down being right about them being wrong about what they're doing. Fair enough. So back on the CEO, this has sent shockwaves, of course, to this, and my contribution to it. Their biggest problem was they wanted to know if he was going to make an attempt on somebody else's life. That is really, really what it's coming after. And the revenge game is his. I mean, okay, great. And Michael Cohen needs to be worried about this. Liz Cheney needs to be worried about that. I mean, those are the people he's going to go after. He's not going after medium Brandon Russ because I showed his astrology that he had the potential to be either a great leader or an asshole. And he's chosen an asshole. If he wants to have a debate with me on that, I can go 6 ways to Sunday, right? See his Bjorn again. I love it. Hampton, Minneapolis music, man. I love that. By the way, I will be out there again. I'm actually going to be out there in the fall because we've got to go see the Vikings play. And stop me if you've heard this before, but Skull. You guys are probably rewinding a little bit, hearing a little bit in the back channel of it. But the message is very clear that, and think about the attributes of the age of Aquarius. It is about personal accountability. It is about what you bring to the table. It is about you holding yourself personally accountable for improvement, for process improvement, for intelligent design for yourself. That doesn't mean you have to look like anybody else, though. It's actually a very individualized thing. When you do work with other people, it is not a codependency relationship anymore. It is a very symbiotic relationship. It is no longer like this. It is like this. So we are seeing some of the things that Trump wants to do with basically saying, like, take immigration. When immigrants come here, they become codependents to us. They just do. And the reason being is because they are hamstrung, because our process doesn't allow them to become citizens, because we can't get to them in time, because we have a backlog, because we haven't committed enough resources. But damn it all, our pharmaceuticals can give us hard dicks and more hair. But for whatever reason, we can't seem to solve a process that's already in place that just needs extra judges to work them, period. And by the way, I don't care if it's 10 judges or 300 judges, closer to 300. But if that was to happen, and if they saw 10 cases a day, 15 cases a day, they would move this from, and by the way, people that aren't supposed to be here would be out of here. Trump, he's allergic to one thing. Donald Trump is allergic to one thing and one thing alone. It's the truth. That man lies even when he is told that everything is wrong that he is saying. We spend the wrong amount of effort on the wrong things, on the things that don't really matter, or the things that aren't the biggest problem in the room. Let me say it that way. Some of them don't have a big problem at all. But to be able to turn our focuses, we get excited about all these other things. And the fact that, I go back to this whole thing. And by the way, shout out to the Springfield ASPCA. I love that you guys follow the channel now. Thank you so much. You've got more stuff coming your way. I encourage everybody to donate to you guys so that then the dogs and the cats are safe. But for him to turn on a dime and start to say, like, oh, Springfield, Ohio, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. That is a local problem. That is not a national problem. He doesn't even understand how to spend time on things. So the red flags are carnival at this point, everybody. Like, we can keep picking this apart as much as we want to, right? The dog catcher should have been in charge of that, not the president. And then when you're like, well, illegal immigration and blah, blah, blah. No. They're only illegal because you suck at your job, United States. There, I said it. We're not the greatest. We're actually the worst. And by the way, problem solving with just get rid of them isn't problem solving. The analysis of how much money it would take to remove all of the immigrants. And by the way, I'm going to share this with you guys. Part of the reason why that scares the living shit out of me is because the children that I adopted were born of an immigrant mother. They were naturally born into this country. You going to come after my kids? I have a leg to stand on this one. I've legally adopted them. We have another layer of exchange where I have legally gone through the maneuvers. They have legally become citizens. Everything that Trump talks about is undoing anything and everything. Everything. One of the other things that Project 2020 wants to do is actually eliminate any supports for any adoptees or foster care because they want them to go through Christian nationalistic adoption agencies to outsource them. Oh, I got a dog in the fight, guys. I got a dog in this fight. Because the problem is simple. You set up a bunch of rules and then you move the goalpost. Fuck you. Excuse my French. They're moving the goalpost, so we're going to move the goalpost. Kill them with kindness. Nope, doesn't work anymore. We have to be smarter. We have to outmaneuver. We have to say that our voice is consistent. Owning a publishing company, I will rail against the First Amendment all day long. I have the right to publish whatever I want. Having a YouTube channel, well, until they make this illegal. And by the way, already working on other platforms. Spreading out the platform bug, if you will. Acting like a cockroach that can't get us all when they scatter the lights on. And by the way, they might be able to take some of us out, but they're not going to be able to take all of us. In the past 35 days, I've actually been strategizing how to outsmart them. And by the way, I've been tapping into my guides, and they've been showing me pretty clearly what it is. By the way, that doesn't mean I'm not going to falter. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to make mistakes. But the good news is that during that time when I had that 2,500 square feet and 28 practitioners, I made a ton of mistakes. Yeah, in Onami, Odame Brown, you were in Ghost. America has never been a great country. Let's get rid of the narrative about the superlatives. Let's start taking out all of the things that change the dynamic. Sorry. Let us get the narrative out of our head about superlatives. Nothing about being great or terrible or bad or awful. Isn't it funny? Oh, and by the way, I really did. I also did edit myself when I said, you were in Ghost. You like that, huh? So starting it, that is so funny. My guides have explained to me exactly how I'm supposed to do this. And my guides have never let me down. While I had the large space, the 2,500 square feet, the 28 practitioners, I made a ton of mistakes. Personally, I'll admit it. Professionally, I couldn't keep up with it. And I made bad decisions because I just didn't want to be alone in the fight. And I realized I was all alone through the whole thing. I've gotten really good at being alone. I've gotten really good at making decisions on my own. I've gotten really good at not creating codependent relationships, but rather having Aquarian relationships. Oh, and by the way, where did I hear this? It vaguely familiar. Let's judge people on the content of their character, not on the color of their skin. I don't give a shit what package you're in. I don't care who you sack tickle on Tuesdays. What I care about is if you're going to bring your weight in being a kind person, if you're going to make the broker deal that this is what I'm going to do for this person or that person or whatever, your job is to bring it home to the best of your ability. And you might do okay. And you might do all right. And you might do sort of okay. But if you can walk away from that and go, well, this is what I learned. One of the things I loved about Tim Walz, and by the way, that whole tampon Tim thing was just, please note that everything that the Republicans have done and continue to do is a PR campaign. Everything is a PR campaign for them. Everything. Yeah. One of the things that I loved about Tim Walz was he went, yeah, I screwed that up. My first marriage didn't go the way it was supposed to, and I made some mistakes. You're right. Well, do you think that's being trustworthy? I think telling you that I made a mistake is being trustworthy, yes. He's a good person. That's why he was reviled. That's why Kamala chose him. It wasn't about winning Minnesota. It wasn't about winning Pennsylvania. It was about, am I going to move forward with good people? That's honestly, maybe I should invite Kamala to run my HR department, my legal department. Cheersies. There's something to be said. And by the way, after the election, all the good people felt like shit. All of the good people felt like they had been punched in the gut. Because here they are going, how can somebody be so mean, get so much recognition? How are we going to... He literally said he's going to take away this and kick this person in the nuts and do that and everything else. By the way, here's my mea culpa. The first go at this, when I really started to grow, and by the way, I had TV deals. I had cameras in every corner to kind of like get this on TLC. I had handshake deals. I had a contract. It's huge. Generational changing money. And the pandemic took it away. I'm sitting there going, which way to the bridge? And the universe was just like, that camera, dust it off. Let's go. Remember when you bought like a 4K camera when you were like, smudging and doing like late night eBaying? Uh-huh. And then a friend of mine that was getting out of doing localized shows and whatever, she was on the news forever, was like, hey, I got some lights. Do you need them? I could use them. I got a couple of lights, but I need a couple of shinies. And she goes, okay, you can have them until whenever. And I'm like, okay, Christine, whenever you need them back, just let me know. She goes, yeah, that's good. We got to outsmart them, guys. We're not going to go and raid the Capitol. That's not who we are. Because in a weird sort of way, and when I say this is going to get right to the bone. When it comes right down to it, all of this talk about country, God, loyalty to the flag, the Constitution, all of these trigger marks that your big-wheeled, flag-waving dickhead out at the traffic light is doing right now. Go, we're from America. You can pry it out of my cold dead. It's all about the profit margin. It's all about the whatever. In a brutally honest moment, the people that this resonates with look right through that and go, it's all an illusion. Your time's almost up. This is going to be a network that's going to create the idea that we can have a freedom of expression and a freedom of understanding, and we can do an exploration of what our belief system is. And God has never been proven, except for in the absence of existence of other things. Einstein's faith was a really important it was a learning point for me. By the way, guys, anytime I freeze up, just know I'm going to stop talking. I'll pick up right from there, so hang in there. By the way, what they are doing is what is known as fractional delays, where they send out odd signals. By the way, I also track people on my website. And for some reason, Los Alamos, New Mexico has been on my, is it New Mexico? I'm pretty sure it's New Mexico. Los Alamos. And when you Google Los Alamos, it is nothing but a government town and a government base. Has been on my website no less than 50 times since that one video went out about the election. So, yeah. Anyways, you guys asked me what to do. You guys asked me to change the narrative, and I'm like, it's not over yet, but I don't know what that means yet. Kamala didn't get up off the mat, and there must be a reason. Is she in cahoots with it? Kind of looks like it. Sorry. Do I think she wanted to win in the worst way? I don't know. Do I think that she wanted to project and promote the idea that change had to come? Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, it looks like a loss to her. The work that we're meant to do now is to really separate the people that get it and the people that don't get it. I've actually been speaking about this for years. There will be a cataclysmic change within us. And there will be people that will mock those that talk to dead people. And then the people that seamlessly recognize that spirit and soul works with us every day. It is becoming more and more tangible every day to me. And to that, I have the empirical data that when I sit with somebody, they say, yeah, that's my grandmother. But if not, I look like a crazy guy sitting there rambling on about somebody in an apron and talking about jokes around the holidays or whatever the case may be. The reality now becomes, how do we move this to empirical data? How do we move this to a substantiated movement? How do we bring it here? And by the way, it's in my chart. Pluto is currently conjunct with my Jupiter. Guess what? Go big or go home. And it is in the 6th house. So that means to me that I need to pull and rally the troops together because we're getting ready for a supernova. It's that simple. I take all my years of experience with working with businesses, working with individuals. I have credentials out the years from everything from recovery coach to light working to working with, Brian Weiss, Doreen Virtue, all the names you can throw out, even Bobby McFerrin. Do 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 do. Don't worry, be happy now. What was he telling us with that song? Here's a little song I wrote. I'm going to sing it for you, note for note. So don't worry, be happy. What he's saying in that line is, I'm going to sing my own song, but you can be happy. It shouldn't affect you. You have sovereignty to this, right? When things are going bad, you can look up on the bright side of it. Yeah. By the way, don't think that this movement isn't fueled by the Carlinisms that are. I'm your Uncle B. I see you. One of the other things that George Carlin really, and by the way, if you follow George Carlin, you really study him, George Carlin became this kind of antisocial, anti-disestablishmentarianism, right? Because the United States government screwed him over. He got targeted. Right? He was making all this money. He was making this cash behind the scenes, going into clubs. He was just a simple guy, right? But he had been on TV and he'd been in a partnership and he was whatever. And then he kind of became the hippy dippy weatherman, man. Oh my gosh, class clown. By the way, in my book, Sister Mary Knucklepants is 100% something I came up with while listening to Carlin. Right? Well, of course, Mrs. Carlin. He fell behind in penmanship. You broke his hand. Yeah. George Carlin basically took all of those incredibly ridiculous. And by the way, thank you for the compliment that if I'm inspiring you to think about Carlin, that's kind of part of my joke lineage, for sure. Inspired by Robin Williams, carried on through George Carlin. It's really all I need. But every once in a while, I'll pull out the one-liners. I saw George Carlin at a place called the Coliseum. And this was right before I was really into music. Well, I shouldn't say that. I was in a band, but I wasn't really playing out. Like, I didn't know the players yet, so I kind of had whatever. And I saw him, and it was in the round, and he just got so high beforehand. And you could smell it. It was like the first time I ever smelt pot was at a Carlin show. It wasn't at Guns N' Roses. It wasn't. It's so funny. Like it was a Carlin show. And I smelled it again at the Rodney Dangerfield. And Rodney brought the house down. Oh my God, was he good. Carlin always had a way of, Carlin was very planned, and I love the methodology of this. And here are the three, if I'm going to take my Mount Rushmore, and give me a minute for the fourth person, without being a comedic actor. It's so funny. I was on a podcast where this came up. Robin Williams is really kind of my one, but more so because I think he embodied that ADHD overreaction, gifted stream of consciousness that he would kind of work with. And he would write like 10 pages, 20 pages, and he would get through 2 of them, and the rest of it was all improv. Welcome to the show. George Carlin would write that and then memorize it word for word. Like what he delivered was his written stuff. He might have taken it out at the last minute, might have tweaked it or whatever, but he got it down. Because what he would do then is that then he would figure out, aha, this is how I'm going to deliver it. He was a method actor. He learned the right way to deliver pieces. Robin Williams was, that true dimension between, lack of sobriety and fueled by coke. Like, that once he got off of that stuff, then he became more brilliant, which is just insane, guys. It's insane. Ask Hemingway. He tried to write sober and he couldn't. Turns out he had arthritis and it hurt his hands. Right? You thought I was way younger? How old do you think I am? By the way, I started out the show talking about how I am not the Target Santa. Thank you for the notes and the pictures, ladies. The women's section, get a sweater. And then with that, I put Rodney Dangerfield in there because I just loved he presented the absurd in 2 lines, right? Yeah, Lewis Black is great too. Lewis Black. I do that to my kids all the time. I'm like, yeah. Then you pick up the underwear and you put it in the hamper. That's my Lewis Black. Thank you very much. But I love his political takes because he has been very smart with that. And I really wish him and Amy Madigan got together. Can I just say that out loud? Anyways. The Rodney Dangerfield stuff, what impressed me for somebody who was going to do performance work, Rodney Dangerfield had 1,000 jokes a set. And I'm exaggerating that, but he would say somewhere in the vicinity of 200 to 300 jokes in a night. That is insane. And then he would get up again and do another 200. He would only repeat like maybe 10 of them. My Dr. Vinny Butts. He would have themes. But when you come back to it, right? Mitch Hedberg is... hey man, so in that generation, that vein of generation, you've got the Mitch Hedbergs, you have the Greg Giraldo, who I thought put together one of the best albums ever. It's a good day to cross the river. Who really made you look at like who you were. And Mitch Hedberg took a spacey thing and like had cutesy punchlines to it. And he was just brilliant with it. Same with Bill Hicks. Bill Hicks kind of had that anger moment. Oh my God, you guys clearly, I can clearly, take care of that. Sam Kinison was glitchy to me. He actually got better as time went on. But he knew what the crowd wanted. Even like the Andrew Dice Clay stuff. Like, I mean, he was a tool, but then people that knew him were like, dude's awesome. Like, I know some comics that toured with him and, into the 90s, and he's like getting up there and he's playing the drums. He's like, sure, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want, And the idea that he that he was able to do that stuff. He was offending people, and people were like, oh my gosh, I'm so offended by him. And he goes, exactly. He was the primer for Trump, guys. Where Dice knew when to pull it back. By the way, he always respected people. He had a really good relationship with, I think it was Faye Dunaway. And Faye vouched for him. She goes, he's hysterical. He is the nicest guy behind the scenes. He knows when to use the P word, and we all know the P word. And he was very much about the shock value of that. Sam Kinison did the very similar thing. Sam Kinison's take on religion was a thing. And again, without being political, you take some women comics that were able to really execute, and I'm talking the Paula Poundstones, Ellen DeGeneres. One of my favorite is Bamford, because her jokes land on mental health every single time. And oh my gosh, I'm looking right at him. He almost went into retirement. Really, Gary Goldman, who was on Dane Cook's original tour. I've got a funny story because it has to do with one of Dane Cook's guys. It's a funny story. So on tour, it was Dane Cook. It was Kelly. I got a funny story about Kelly, so hang in there. And there was another guy who was kind of bottom tier, and then Gary Goldman. Well, Gary Goldman was as they said, he was the new guy. He was the guy in the band. He's got to pay his dues. And they're like, you're getting out there for, 20 minutes. You're getting paid. You're making bank. You're doing whatever. And I saw that tour. And Gary Goldman was the fucking funniest, right? Robert Kelly held his own. And I forget the third one now. If anybody knows, yeah, Ali Wong, but Ali Wong is glitchy. One of the problems that I have with Schlesinger, oh my gosh, even Nikki Glaser leading up to this stuff with the Tom Brady stuff. I love Nikki Glaser. She had no problem going there, and you didn't feel dirty as she said it. Amy Schumer, you felt dirty when she would bring up stuff. It was just It was also during the Me Too movement. Nikki Glaser definitely has some other categories that she's ahead of it. But when I watched that, I think it was the Retaliation tour, actually, with Dane Cook. Dane Cook came out and basically relived his album, which everybody kind of went can we just listen to this at home? Oh, yeah, Louis C.K. Was Louis C.K. on that tour? He was very kind and bought you lunch. Wow, Sandra Lee, that's really cool. Yeah, it's very consistent. People that are jerks, you're going to hear jerk stuff all the time. And when some people have a bad experience with somebody, by the way, anybody that ever has a bad experience with me or talks trash about me, they all have one thing in common. Are you ready? I told them no. I put up a boundary and they didn't like it. So Robert Kelly, I'm doing a charity benefit thing. First time I'm doing stand up, right? Yeah, Amy Schumer's okay. I mean, but there's another one that's got a podcast out now. She's got dark hair. She just had a baby maybe a year ago. Oh gosh, I'll think of her. I can see her. And David Spade, if you go back and you listen to his 2000 album, David Spade is one funny dude. That guy got it together, right? Anyway, so I'm doing this charity thing for a March of Dimes thing. By the way, happy birthday, Mike Keene. He was the organizer of this. This is his birthday. Of course, it's coming up. And he asked me, he goes, wouldn't it be hysterical just getting out there to the point where I was having message circles of 30, 40 people. My name brand was kind of getting out there. And I thought, and he thought it would be really cool if the Medium branding came out and did a comedian set, right? But he goes, listen, the ownership, the whatever, doesn't want you to do mediumship. We can't brand it that way. And I go, okay, I won't do any readings. That should be easy. So I have this whole thing written out there, right? And I'll even tell you my first joke. So I get up there, and I probably had about 15 people that knew me there that came because they were like, hey, we're going to support this March of Dimes, all this other stuff. It was cool. And the guy that introduced me, I hit a home run off of in Little League some 20 years earlier. I'm still letting Dan Garrett. By the way, Dan Garrett is one of the funniest guys in upstate New York. If you can see him, go get him. He's hysterical. He's an old neighborhood guy. Anyway, so he introduces me, and I'm like, holy shit. Hey, Danny, how about this? Remember that time I hit the home run after you? And he goes, no. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. We're tanking. So I come up there and I go, this is really interesting for me because I usually just come up and your grandmother actually supplies most of my fodder because, I talk to dead people and as a medium, this is what I do. But they told me I'm not supposed to do that tonight. So, writing jokes is really hard because if I come up here and I say to you, and by the way, this was how long ago this was, you could get away with this joke. And I said, if I came up here and I said, all my kids are brain damaged, you would say, hey, you can't Bill Cosby. And then I said, okay, so what if I just said, well, here's the 7 words you can't say. Shit. And then they were like, no, don't say it. And then the joke continues on where to be like, but if I come up here and I say to you, I got my first real 6-string. I found it at the 5 and dime. I played it till my fingers bled. And then the whole crowd said it was the summer of 69. And I go, see, you can rip off Bryan Adams, but for some reason, Bill Cosby is off limits. That was my opening joke. I had the crowd in it. It was a lot of fun. It really kind of rolled together. And then I kind of sort of froze. I love you, Mike, who saved me. Because I said a couple more things and whatever. So anyways, I'm telling you this whole story to bring you to this one. The next guy came up. Dan was the intermediary. I would say, 5 minutes of jokes in between and whatever. And I'm standing in the back, and there's Robert Kelly standing there. And Robert Kelly comes up to here on me, just to let you know. That bald-headed son of a bitch. Because that's how you refer to him when you meet him. Hey, bald-headed son of a bitch. And I'm standing there, and I'm like, hey, how long you been there for? He goes, too long. And I go, oh, okay. He goes, you talk to dead people, huh? They go, yeah, I do. Well, you got something to fall back on, shithead. And then I told him about his mom. And we talked about her cancer and how she was in process. And he said, I can't wait to get out of here tonight because I got to go see her. And I said, I know, it's all over you. And he says, thanks, man. I needed that. I go, nobody looks at their watch as to whether it's 45 or if it's 50 or if it's 55. And he goes, yeah, but everybody notices if you don't show up at the midnight show. He went home that night. And I made a comment on one of his Twitters. He made some comment about a Twitter thing. I think he was making fun of like the blue collar tour and just basically being like, we've been unseated. You've been unseated by the most backwards, Larry the Cable Guy crap you've ever seen. I love you, Larry. I'm glad you have success, but feel free to die with your jokes, like something like that. And I wrote something like, I said, and I wrote something like, now we're in business. And underneath it, Bobby says in response to me saying that, he said, you still got something to fall back on, huh? Like I'll tip my cap to that, right? It's good stuff, right? Wow, Cher had good time. So there's a difference between funny. How did we get here? How did we get here, guys? How did we get here? Oh, I know why. Life is hard. Remember when I said to you a couple of weeks ago, it's going to get better? Stop right here. It's already better. I love the Carol Burnett show, and I'm even going to go a step further with that. I loved Tim Conway. Loved Tim Conway. The Dentist is one of the funniest skits on the face of the planet. Hysterical. Like I still wet myself at that one, right? And one of the things that, and this is where I've taken the page out of some of these comedians. People didn't realize how funny Johnny Carson was, but he was also a really good, smart tactician. Because he finally realized somewhere in his 40 years of this, and by the way, what a classy way to go out in 1996, was it? When he basically said, sat there on the stage and was like, here you go. This has been my life. It has been an honor. It has allowed me and afforded me the life that I've always wanted. I've met incredible people. I've done incredible things. People just didn't realize that how talented he was. But one of the things that he would say, he would literally, here's what I took from Johnny Carson. He would say, it doesn't matter who it was. If they left laughing, they were laughing at the Johnny Carson show. And by the way, insert that into Robin Williams. He just let Robin go for two segments. He was just like, no other guest would get on, right? The other thing that I got from Carol Burnett was that was her signal to her daughter that she'd be home soon. And nobody really noticed it until she brought it up, right? Bette Midler was on his last show. Yeah. Norm Macdonald can't not be mentioned in all of this too. Oh yeah, I should do a Karnak thing. I should get one of those big hats and be like, an orange. I'm not going to say it. What is things you never want in the White House? And I think people like Jimmy Carr are incredibly funny. He's a craftsman. That's what I really like about him. He can get away with some British comedy that's a little raw. Jim Jeffers, I think, has some good stuff too. And, but it all comes from, you take somebody like Jim Jeffers, who's like driven by the hate of his upbringing. And you have Jimmy Carr, who's kind of this smart tactician. One of my favorite, though, American that I would put in that class with them is Mike Birbiglia. Mike Birbiglia's hysterical. That man is just like, he just takes the absurd and rides with it all the time, right? When Norm Macdonald was the last guest on David Letterman, and this is what's so important. This is the stuff that people like us recognize. Norm Macdonald told a story about when he was growing up in Toronto, outside of Toronto, Mississauga, wherever. And he learned of this comedian that that had like a talk show and did like localized stuff, and he just thought the world of him. And he just thought it was great the way that he would come up with creative things, right? And he traveled. He got his parents to bring him. And he met this guy who was 10, 12 years older than him. And he said, hey, Mr. Letterman, I want to be a comedian someday. And he says, well, let me hear what you got. And he told him 2 or 3 jokes. He goes, yeah, you know what? You got some work there. You could probably do that. You could probably work in comedy. Sounds like you're a pretty good writer. Like, he gave him some encouragement. Well, that encouragement brought him to Hollywood. He ended up being a writer on the Roseanne show. He ended up being, and again, the good Roseanne show before she started taking Xanax and calling everybody Jewish. And by the way, Roseanne Barr has never been funny to me. Sorry. It's not funny. Beating up and being mean to people doesn't work. Um, Don Rickles, Joan Rivers, they all kind of have like one note to me. Rickles did a little bit more, and Rivers had other edges to her, so you kind of liked them for different reasons. But Roseanne Barr had one note. She's just hitting the C note all day long. Like, ding, 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 stupid man, I'm a domestic goddess. Right? But you want to see somebody crazy? Judy Tenuta. Good night. Right? So Norm Macdonald, though, was this, joke writer, and then he ended up on Saturday Night Live, and he got canned from Saturday Night Live for speaking the truth. Like, he literally, and this is what we have to harness right now, right? This is why Jon Stewart has legs. Jon Stewart, Colbert to a certain degree, Jimmy Kimmel to a certain degree, Seth Meyers, certainly. They all have a platform because literally Norm Macdonald sat there and called out O.J. Simpson every freaking night. And Omeyer didn't like, and if you've heard any of the stories, Omeyer didn't like him. Right? And basically fired him. Oh, David Tell is another one. That's the other one I was looking for. David Tell has some of the, I'm going to say it's a little rude, but his album is called Skanks for the Memory. One of the best live in-room comics you've ever seen. David Tell. Oh my gosh. David Tell. Right? Who did Bell do a shout out there? Yeah, Judy for sure. As a local weatherman, yes. He was funny on the news and wasn't supposed to be. That's the stuff that inspired Norm Macdonald. He based his stuff on David Letterman. He's like, I'm going to take this straight until I don't have to. And then he would write these jokes like, every single time I see any of the Epstein stuff, here's a reminder, Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself, and like showing a box of crayons of 64. Right? The thing I like about Jon Stewart now is that he's an advocate for things. He was an advocate for 9/11 survivors. He was an advocate for veterans. And he's taken his platform. And by the way, guys, that's an inspiration to me. I want to take this platform and my abilities. And by the way, I'm still a medium. You can still go to my website and book me. You can still go and do all of that stuff, right? But that joke about, here's your reminder, Epstein still didn't hang himself. That is so Norm Macdonald, because that's what he did. When he hosted the ESPYs, which they should have seen it coming, he got up there and he's like, wow, that is amazing. Desmond Howard, you have a Heisman Trophy and nobody can take that away from you unless you commit double murder. He owned the room. It was on him from then on in. One of the other challenges that I think that a lot of people don't recognize with comedians is the depression level that goes on to it. When comics flow, they have to go to places. And I have worked with in recovery. Those of you that don't know, I'm a recovery coach and I've worked with people over the years, right? And Francisco Franco is still dead. Exactly. Janis Joplin is currently dead. Thank you very much. Is how much like what the creative cycle is. When I work with comedians, like there's a lot of stuff. When I've worked with comedians and musicians, this is a big deal because what happens for them is the thing that made them great, right? Is that it changes them. Great Giraldo actually had a great joke about this where he's like, I connected with you. I met you. You were a cocktail waitress in a hotel bar. That much is true. Did I just do that? I kind of did. And then now that we are together, you want to change that. The exact thing that you fell in love with, seeing me up on stage and doing every night, is the exact thing that you want me to stop because you want me to be loyal to you in some other way. And it was a reflection on you. Can't take that out of there. But, Sam Morrell was together with oh my gosh, she's on that show. She's doing a show after Colbert. Tomlinson. Yeah, true story. Totally forgot what I was saying, guys. I'm reading your comments going, Jim Morrison lives in Venice Beach. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Janice. Okay. Now I'm getting it. All right, back to me. So the idea that you have to keep your head on a swivel and kind of move forward. A lot of people banked on Jim Carrey for selling out. Well, he can go back and do comedian stuff anytime he wants, right? Jerry Seinfeld goes back to it because he loves it. Kevin Pollak had some of the funniest stuff out there for years, right? He had specials, before Netflix, it was HBO. Like, that was the reason to have HBO back in the day, is because you would get the comedy stuff and the, and the whatever. I remember a Minnesotan comedian by the name of Diane Ford. And by the way, I just went total 1989 on you guys with this one. And Diane Ford, she packaged swear words in such a way that it was hysterical. It was absolutely hysterical. And she did it in such a Minnesotan way. And she would talk like that, right? But I found comfort in the subtleties of how people would approach things. And then you listen to somebody like Eddie Murphy. His first 3 albums were hysterical. And then, my girl wants to party all the time. Party all the time. You're welcome. And Richard Pryor. I'll never forget the day that we all skipped school. We went to Tony Galasso's attic. And there's 6 of us up there. We're freezing, and we are listening to Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, George Carlin. And I just had a bunch of Bill Cosby. It's so funny. I had all these Bill Cosby albums growing up, and he was the worst of all of them in terms of human beings. It's the flame and the spirit. Eddie Murphy tells a story, and if you follow comedian stuff, you probably heard this clip, where Eddie Murphy meets Rodney Dangerfield. And Rodney always looked for new talent and whatever, and he felt a little slighted, but Eddie Murphy already had, Saturday Night Live under the belt, and he was like, yeah, kid, you got too much of the, too blue for me, And they met at a urinal, and he goes, yeah, it's too much, whatever. They leave, they run into each other 10 years later, and he's blown up. The Beverly Hills Cop, 48 Hours. I think he had gotten into Coming to America at that point. Flubber, he's getting signed by Disney and whatever. And he came up, he meets Rodney in his own club again because he wanted to try out more material. Comes in, sees him at the urinal, looked over at him and goes, oh no, and then walked out. Stories like that you can't make up, right? Jamie Foxx. Yeah, Jamie Foxx. Jamie doesn't throw up my skirt, but he's okay. The Alan Arkin thing is hysterical, right? Foster Brooks, Marty Feldman. Oh my gosh. Who else are you guys naming here? Stephen Wright for sure. Stephen Wright had a very kind of cool thing. Yeah. Bernie Mac had his moments. And Steve Harvey had some okay stuff there for a while. I don't resonate with the Tyler Perry tree. And that's not a color thing. I don't think it's funny. I think it's very predictable, but congrats. Way to go. Lily Tomlin and Laugh-Ins. Yeah, I kind of like that. We're going back. Somebody got my human leg. Ding, 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 ding. Don't you want me? Don't you want me? Oh, whoa, whoa. Hey, Tracy, how are you? Yeah, we could be. Um, yeah, I just want to make sure if I missed anybody because I was trying to like look back at this. But part of the Man Show, oh my God, Adam Carolla, who is not very funny. You know, the horse teeth are not there. And by the way, those, if you want to watch something about how much he shouldn't be president, watch the Donald Trump roast. Oh my God. It's a Vicar of Dibley. It's just a flesh wound. Um, so true story. Over the summer, I hit a guy on a bike. Jim Gaffigan is also very good. I love how clean he is. By the way, I love clean stuff like that, and I do swear when appropriate. I think. Yeah, I'm getting back into Karnak, and here we go. I hit a guy on a bike. It's funny, but it's not. So, um, yeah, the show. Listen, women on trampolines. I'm in. Not gonna lie. What was I gonna say? So I'm in Williamsburg. Hold on. Here we go. I'm in Williamsburg, Virginia. Kids are in the car, ready to go. I'm at a stop. I'm pulling out, whatever, and there's a monicum amount of traffic. It wasn't that bad. It was Memorial Day weekend, but whatever. And I'm standing there, and I took my foot off the brake. I lunge forward and I hit a guy on a bike. He falls over. I throw it in a park, and I'm immediately going, he shouldn't have been there. I look this way. It was looking that way. And I get out and I stop the guy, and he was I'll get to Fluffy in a second. And he sits down, checked out his bike, made sure his wheels spun. He just basically got knocked over. He was shaken up, but he wasn't hurt. But I stopped and I sat there with him and I said, I'm so sorry. Can we bring you somewhere? Do you want to call somebody? Do we want to make sure? I will certainly pay for any of the repairs. If you want to get checked out, we can go do that. And the guy goes, no, I'm okay. I'm in shock. And he told me that he was from Nigeria, and he didn't speak English very well. And I said, I'm terribly sorry. And I'm laughing, and I go, well, it just looks like a flesh wound. You should be okay. And he started laughing, and he says, and you're funny. He says, do you know that you stopped? And no, the last time he goes, all the other times nobody stopped. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? I go, you get hit regularly? I couldn't help it. I just started laughing. And he says, yeah. And he goes, you're the first person to stop and get out of your car. He said, one woman threw money at me. Another person just drove off. And I said, so is this how you make money? It's a real question, right? I'm like, I'll give you $100, whatever. And he says, no. He says, but, and it was a hot day. And I go to the back of the car, get a water for him, and I give it to him, and he goes, this is what I needed. Thank you. He didn't even say it like that. He was just like, yeah, thank you. But you could tell that. Freezing is like awful. Like I'm always like half like in the bag looking. Anyways, it told me a lot about immigration that day too. He's used to being shit on. And by the way, he should kind of be aware. Like, I don't know the other situations, and you can think to yourself, if you are in a negative mindset, that maybe, just maybe, this is how they make money. Okay. Listen, we're gregarious Americans. We think money fixes everything. Instead, I sat there in the corner with him. Are you okay? And by the way, my boys watched me sit there with him. They're always watching, guys. Always. And it was difficult because I didn't know what was going to come of it. I had a rental. Oh, God, that was a trip from hell with the cars. Right? John Pinette. I say nay, nay. I am well versed in comedians and 80s metal, like just to let you know. Oh, you can be, Tracy. It's called it's called Only Funny. I'll be here all weekend. Lily D with the Steve Martin, yeah. And by the way, that new show, I got hooked hard. I had like 3 days where I didn't have to do anything. I come up here and make stuff and music and whatever, but I didn't have any I just sometimes you got to put the pause button on it and just be yourself. And the Only Murders in the Building, that show it's so smart to have Selena Gomez, like so smart, right? So smart. John Pinette had a really good. I know somebody that got to work with him. He had wardrobe issues, like for some obvious reasons, right? And he had someone that I knew was in costume design in Broadway, and they brought him in, and they were like, he goes, so here is my problem. I can't buy off the rack. She's telling me the story, and I'm redoing it like in the John Pinette voice. So I can't really buy it off the rack. And in his time when he was in Italy, Astronomafali, or whatever he says. And they worked with him, and he says, here's my challenge. He's like, I actually want to be comfortable since I'm going to be filming a lot of this stuff. This is at a time when like the internet stuff was really starting to take off. Like his Twitter was starting to take off, and he was starting to kind of get some things. He said, I want to actually be known for wearing the same clothes all the time. And they were like, can we do this? And they're like, well, obviously we can kind of do this. And he goes, I'm also on this weight program that I'm going to lose. They're telling me I've already lost 15 pounds in like a day. He goes, it's horrible. And he goes, and somewhere there's a half a dozen rolls living happily countryside. Like he couldn't not go there. Right. So anyways, they had to come up with a solution that would be able to like bring it together. And they created the Sands belt. Anyways, I'm telling you that to tell you this one. The Sands belt that you find out there that like it took off a couple of years ago. John Pinette wore the prototype of that. I didn't know the person that had the patent on it, but I knew somebody that had worked with him. And he lost a bunch of weight. He lost like 100 pounds on tour. And he was just like, yeah, I just started new routines. My old routine used to be like, I get up at 10, I ponderosa at 1, I hoagie at 5, I hit the stage at 7, I eat until 1, and then I get up at 10 and do it all over again. Like he just had this, like to stay that big is a real challenge. I can say that because I used to weigh 444 pounds. Losing 100 and what was it, 160 at one point. Like I lost a whole person. Like I get it. I'm putting it back on. I'm getting into hibernation mode, right? But when you do that, it's really tough to stay that weight. It's really tough. And you can look at, and congratulations, anyone that's done that. I mean, it's a thing. I don't care if you lose 40 pounds. I don't care if you lose 20. Like it's a change of habit, right? Our food is unhealthy. By the way, I'm very much about tackling this stuff on the new channel. I think what I'm going to do, I feel like a con by not turning over cards, but it's getting a little late. This is the only time my screen freezes. Isn't that crazy? Hold on. I'm going to close a few more of these. But it's an internet problem. It is definitely an internet problem. By the way, I'm seeing some of you guys are getting onto the website. You're sending me messages. I will get back to you for sure, especially if you're interested in being part of this as well. It's an amazing ride with this, and we have to start using our talents towards the things that are going to make us better as a society, as a human, as a, we can't take any days off anymore, not like that, right? And when I, see people that are, whoa, that's a lot. I really appreciate that. Why are you popping up with me? Oh, that's why. Congratulations to Mel Robbins. She is now an inspirational speaker for Oprah, and I just unfollowed her. I love Mel's stuff. I love her let them theory. I love a lot of the stuff that she does as well. You can absolutely be a part of this, Tracy. I mean, this is something that get out of the line. I say nay, nay. I am concerned about vaccines, but I don't think blowing up vaccines as a whole is the right thing to do. Immigration is a problem, but I don't think sending them back is the actual solution. Right? I think we have to have fair trade with companies and countries. And I think we do need back channels. I think secrecy isn't an entirely bad thing. Right? We have, without a doubt, thrived on secrecy for a long time. But think about the people that have warned us. Right? JFK, Eisenhower. The mere idea of secret societies are repugnant. Clip. Right? We have to change something. I'm not even entirely sure what it is. Oh my gosh, I can tell you a Wayne Dyer story too. On the night that Wayne Dyer died, I had a dream about him. I'd read a couple of his books. I've heard his things. I've done I actually did his meditation series when he was alive. And this is a long time ago. This is like before I did this for a living. And I had a dream about him because he was in my head a little bit with the meditations. Had a dream, woke up to the internet saying rest in peace. Another teacher that I thoroughly enjoy is Pima Chodron. I think she has some real practical deliveries. I think Teach Yen is another one. By the way, guys, I'm just going to say this to you. Quoting Osho with me will not work. He is a cult leader and he has done a lot of damage. I am not down with that, although I wish him well in Soundgarden. I'll be here all weekend with that one. That's funny. I'm selective with that. I take someone like Deepak Chopra, Mel Robbins, people that are working with the, mainstream super soul stuff and whatever. I'm not going to disparage their successes. I just want you to be able to kind of like recognize, like, take the parts that work for you. It's not an indoctrination. None of this is an indoctrination. Oh yeah, Osho looks like the guitarist from Soundgarden. Just like, remember how the keyboard player, the bass player, was it the keyboard player or the bass player of Loverboy looked like David Letterman? Am I the only one? I saw Loverboy. I saw David Letterman over the summer in Loverboy. No, I saw Loverboy over the summer, and they played their 7 hits. Hot Girls in Love, which by the way is a completely underrated song, cheesy as hell. But if you've been in a band and you played Working for the Weekend at nauseum, to see them pull it off is just a thing of beauty, right? Well, hold on a second. Greg Lake passed away. Was this recent? Because I have to take this one from the beginning. See what I did there? I'm going to look that one up. My gosh. Oh, yeah, it was a few years ago. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I thought he did. Thought he did. Yeah, that was one of the 2016. Oh my gosh. Um I know Palmer's still alive. Palmer was just on tour. Um so I went down to go see King's X down at Fairfield. And I'm actually talking to their theater group because they actually have a community theater attached there. I'm working out some stuff with them. Yeah, Loverboy is just such Loverboy, Warrant, Survivor. Oh my god, like their greatest hits. Survivor's greatest hits is like one of the most underrated. They were amazing. Toto for sure. I mean, Toto's just. I am so stealing that. I am so stealing that. Yeah, one of the guys from King Crimson just passed away. I saw that. What do you call a computer that can sing? Adele. I don't bump. I love it. Yeah, Mike Reno came out in leather pants. By the way, Black Bell. Oh yeah, they were crotch huggers for sure. Um, yeah, and David Gilmour. I mean, like these guys they're going away, guys. They are going away. David Coverdale just announced he's done. He was trying to bring in another singer to sing his stuff, and Reb Beach, who kind of I have some local ties to him here. He was originally a guitarist of Winger, and the producer of Winger was local here, and he was kind of on the scene for a while. And it's like he did this. Reb Beach is working with everybody under the sun. He's such an awesome guitarist, and oh my gosh, Don Dokken, he's my guy. I've hung with him. George Lynch forever. The Glimmer Twins are still going, yeah. Well, you just saw Aerosmith quit, right? Alice Cooper was just here in Albany a couple of months ago. He brought the house down. Of course, he's on tour with Nina Strauss, who is the great granddaughter of Sebastian of Strauss, the composer, and I'm not going to get his first name. Yes, I'm going to do some cards here. Hang on. I don't mind doing 2 hour lives. Do you? Yes, Tracy, we're alone again without you. So if you guys like this kind of setup, and by the way, when I met Don Dokken, he was an absolute jerk because I had met him. He was on tour with Whitesnake. How funny is this? He's opening for Whitesnake. It was him. It was Dokken, and Erase the Slate had just come out, and that album was just on fire. That's one of my favorite ones, and it's Reb Beach. It's not even George Lynch, although I love the classics, right? And I meet Don. I'm in Syracuse. I'm out there with one of my buddies' dads, who was a rock guy back in the day, and he's still there. Oh God, I'm gonna have to look this up. There was another band. I'm not gonna remember it. I want to say it was might have been LA Guns. Pause that. I'll bring it back. I'll look it up there, Black Belt. But so Don is hanging out back by the sound booth, And I come up, and then he goes, yeah, I'm not sticking around for white steak tonight. So he's pissed at David because he stole Reb Beach from him. Like, Don could always talk somebody into doing something. John Norum out of Europe. John Levin is a great guitarist in and of himself. He's actually been in Dokken longer than anybody else aside from Don, including Mick Brown. Let that one sink in. But on the other side of this, is he really? So if you guys could guess, what role would I want in Jesus Christ Superstar? If you guys can guess this, I will do some cards. Go ahead. Let it rip. Let it rip, everybody. Let it rip. Yeah, exactly. Judas. My mind is clear now. And I know all too well what we've seen, what we all soon will be. If you strip away, Johann Strauss, thank you, the myth from the man, we will see what we all soon will be. And Jesus started to believe the things they said of you. They really do believe that all this talk is true. And soon it will be done, all be swept away. You'll be gone tomorrow of all the things you say, yeah. Listen, Jesus, I don't like what I see. All that I ask is that you listen to me. We are occupied. Have you forgotten how put down we are? Oh, we'll set the world on fire. They think they found the new Messiah. And they'll hurt you if they think you've lied. Nazareth's his favorite son, should have been a greater known. Like his father carving wood, he'd have made good. How am I doing? Such a great, that was Christmas, that was Easter music, right? Judas, my gosh, and by the way, read the Gnostic Gospels, read the Gospel of Judas. It literally brings you through the struggle that he had, where he's like, I'm going to betray this guy. He's done so much good, right? No, but I'm not ready to say this yet because I have to sign contracts. I am going to be playing drums in a production in the spring. By the way, this is for Judas. Good night. Here is the spread for Judas. Oh. Can't make this up, baby. Can't make this up. I'm going to shuffle up these Snoopy cards. Right? Everything's alright. Yes, everything's alright. Don't you know everything's alright? Yes, everything's fine. It's cool and the ointment sweet. Oh, hand of the Father. Ho ho! Ho ho! Double balance. Judas was doing his job. Right? I'm dead inside. I can't even. Good job, Judas. All right, let's do some cards here. The Rosicrucians teacher that Judas was asked by Jesus to betray him. He was the only one that was trusted. Yeah. By the way, Fozzy, the band Fozzy, Chris Jericho, has a song called Judas. It's not bad cards. There's no such thing, really. But if I'm going to invoke Judas and I'm going to turn over the devil card, he did it for 40 pieces. 30, really. Think of all the good that you can do. Huh. Guys, what do we start talking about? The CEO getting gunned down. Think of all the good you can do with this money. What good is it now? Here we go. Cards, please. Yeah, Carol. I got you. Carol. How are you, Carol? Does it sound? All right, here we go. Carol. Oh, what are you missing out on? Are you missing out on cards? Is that what's going on, girly? Well, let me tell you something. Oh, double whammy here. Okay. All right. Let Brandon bring you back. Okay. I got it. Whatever you need, Leo gets. I'm diving into you here, Carol. Of course you're good. This is what's going on. Right? 4 of Cups. FOMO. I'm missing out. 8 of Cups is moving on from any losses. And then the 3 of Wands is about moving your mindset. Oh my. Let's see what this one's about. Oh, we got the Page of Pentacles. I like this. This is about you taking those things that have challenged you before in the past, the things that you thought you were missing out on, and finding new purposes for them. Very Leo on your descendant, huh? So are you an Aquarius rising? Or is it your DC? No. Knight of Wands. All right, this is about action. It's about you finding what you really want out of anything with this. By the way, it's not that you're becoming like, I don't want to do this. But what it does mean is, hey, I want to be able to do this right. Here we go again, the Justice card. Come on, girl. This is about you moving on to where you want to go. 1 degree Aquarius rising. Oh, yeah. Bigger purpose here coming in here, Carol. You can be a rock star. I don't mind if you're a rock star. I actually think it's great. By the way, I'm going to pull out the astrology cards because I just feel like it. Progression, journey. Huh. And it's 56. So this is divine intention, I think. I think you're going to Pluto conjunct your ascension right now. Cat, way to go with that one. I love smart people. I love your commentary. You guys are kicking ass, taking names. It's almost like you took a class or two. Maybe one of mine. I love it. Carol, this is about you moving yourself to a place. Maybe even moving yourself. I don't know if you're leaving your job, you're retiring, you're getting out of Dodge, whatever the deal is. You're moving on from it, though. And you are going to absolutely get this feel of where you want to go. But it might mean that you're going to move physically, tangibly. Whew. By the way, New Year's Eve, I'm going to be doing card pulls for about 2 hours before the tick of midnight. You're going to get your card pulled for next year. Then I'm going to do some sound healing. Oh, we're going to meditate at midnight. But I'm going to keep going. I'm going to take care of both the East Coast and Central Time Zone. It's a thing. I got too many friends in the Central Time Zone. Right? All you got to do is sign up. It's pay what you will. Go to the website, tbrandonruss.com. Carol, hope to see you soon. Love your work. Love it. January 20th. No, we need healing every day, Pirates. I agree with you. But yeah, the sound healing is a good thing. And actually, I'm working really hard on this. We're going to have some regular stuff on the regular for sure. Jacqueline, listen. Thanks so much for joining us here. Thanks so much for sponsoring the channel here. On that one, or meditation. I don't know. I should probably find something else that you commented on, but we're going to run with this for now. I'm not going to talk about the court case, but I'm going to talk about you, Jacqueline. Here we go. Jacqueline, whereabouts are you? Oh, hey, Bethany. I remember you. There we go. How about if I go to this one? Would be a great choice. There you go. I need to find your bestest rock shirt to wear for that. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Do you know what my first concert I ever went to was? I had a cousin that was like 12 or 13 years older than me. He showed up on his motorcycle. I was hanging out in the front yard, just kicking stones, whatever. He goes, "Hey, you want to go to a concert?" I go, "Hell yeah." They go, "Sure, what's that?" I'm like 11. He's like my son's age. I was my son's age. And I get on the back of his motorcycle with this skull cap helmet. We go flying down Route 9 into downtown Albany and go to the QE2, which became the Fuse Box, which became whatever. But just imagine a bar in 1985, 84, 85. It's 84. And he walks into the back, and I hear for the first time, yes, Kathy, hang in there. For the first time, the amazement of a band called Queensryche. They were opening for another band called Twisted Sister. True story. Tickets were $7, and my cousin didn't want to pay it, so he snuck us in the back, and we had to watch it from backstage. My first interaction with a rock star was Chris DeGarmo running into me with his guitar. Here we go, Jacqueline. Oh, a lot of balance things coming in tonight. Jacqueline, this is about carrying yourself. By the way, that was about 1, 2, 3. That was 8 years before silent lucidity. 6 years before silent lucidity. Standing next to you. Here we go. Jacqueline, how about some Piscean Uranus retrospect here? The Hangman comes out, also known as the St. Peter's card. Lets you know that your perspective of this is a little bit different, and I really kind of like this. Oh, yeah. You're a badass perpetrator, my friend. Queen of Wands. Was I just not talking about Queen of the Reich? Queen of the Wands. I can't, not even in my heyday. And by the way, they had just come out with the album The Warning, and they had just gotten back from Tokyo. Crazy, right? Jet City Woman, man. Best song they did. They also did a song called Last Time in Paris. It was on the Ford Fairlane, speaking full circle of Andrew Dice Clay. Yeah, Tracy, what's going on here? Back to you, Jacqueline. Let's talk about this layout here. You're in balance. You see it a different way. You are a woman of necessary means and intuition. The Queen of Wands is one of the most powerful cards out there. It has the black cat. The only time the cat makes a presence in the tarot, in the Rider-Waite tarot. The Hangman is a very unique card because not only is it Piscean, it also allows you to see the opposite side of things. You've got strong Neptunian energy. You've got Uranus as a secondary characteristic here. You're a strong person, and you are worthy to where you need to go. Star card comes out here. There's a destiny for you to figure this out. Page of Spades. This is about you having a different mindset than other people around you. Wheel of Fortune, Queen of Wands. That's Destiny card, everybody. I'm not going to mess around with this one because I'm going to tell you this flat out. You're in Ohio, huh? If they mess with you, you're going to basically rise above and just tell them where to go. Remember when I talked the other week about good luck with that? I love seeing sticks and Foreigner for that matter. REO Speedwagon can retire. They can just keep on rolling, really. Jacqueline, I like this spread for you for two reasons. One, it talks about you becoming who you're meant to be. You have the Wheel of Fortune and the Star card peppered in here with you becoming the person that you're meant to be. You're going to look at things a little bit differently, by the way. You're going to look at things in a way that not everybody agrees with, but you're going to be a strong enough person to see yourself through. I wouldn't cross you based on this. Not that I would cross many people, but if you have conflict with somebody, this is the one thing I want you to remember. They have a point and a purpose in your life. You don't have to agree with them. You don't have to agree with them. You don't have to agree with what they're doing. You don't have to like where you're going with this, with where they're going with it, but you can say good luck with that because you are destined to rise above everything, have a different mindset along the way. Just out of curiosity, have you had things go sideways when you've been too rigid in your thought process? Because I think that kind of screams at me for that one. Right? And by the way, your authenticity isn't being hardened. Your authenticity is being who's the D, Jackie? Here we go. And Kathy, I see you. I'm going to get to you here. Jackie, who's the D? Could be a B, but it's wow. There's a lot going on with this. You don't know who the D is, and don't say Dad. It's not Dad. There's definitely, it's like a David. What happened in 2015? They're showing me 15s here. Could be June. This is always really tough. And by the way, I am exploring some technology to be able to bring you on so that I can do these readings in real time. You can kind of do it with this, but not really. Hattie, I'm glad you're here. Who'd you lose in 2015, Jackie? And by the way, thank you for sponsoring the channel. I appreciate you. I'm going to move on here. And who's Kevin? Not Home Alone Kevin, but I'm hearing Kevin. Wow, I'm picking up on somebody here. June 21st, double gem. Look at you go. How are you a double gem there, Catherine? What else is is it your rising or your moon? Zoom tube? Yeah, we'll get to it. Jacqueline, thanks so much for joining the channel today. I appreciate you. Peter Frampton comes alive. Journey was great. The best replacement guy of Journey, though. If you believe in me tonight, I will grow high. He was actually really good friends with Neil. Oh, I'm looking right at him. Jeff Scott Soto, who was actually the original lead singer for Yngwie Malmsteen, became a professional himself and filled in for them. And it was really cool. Yes, Kathy, here we go, kiddo. How are you? Hope you're doing well. Hope you're enjoying the class. We're really kind of ramping it up here. Here we go. The Emperor. How did I do that? I took some of these cards and put them back here. Here we go. Kathy, The Emperor comes out. This is about you doing the right thing. It's also about dad. It's about the masculine side of your lineage. Let's see where we're going with this. Maybe dad, maybe a grandfather. This is about a new journey. Kathy, this is about you maybe looking at things a little bit differently. Again, Uranus energy. And then the Two of Wands. Wow. So the high assessment time for you based on these cards. And let me share this with you. I think one of the challenges that you might have in this is that you have to admit that you have to do something different. Because the Two of Wands comes out when a decision needs to be made, where maybe you're pitting yourself against your home and your career and your dialogue. Your loved one coming through. Did somebody just type April Wine? Paul, I totally see. I hope you're still on April Wine forever. Every little thing. It's going to be pretty good. The Sun card comes out. Favorable, positive. Let's look on the bright side of all of this, right? Then we get the Nine of Wands, wounded warrior. But it's also about the perspective of what you're meant to work with, what you're meant to really kind of like dive into. What is worth your time? What is worth your energy? So this is a high selection time. Yeah, you might be going in a different direction here, to be honest with you. No sense in getting beat up by anything that you do anymore. Two of Wands and the decision maker. I'm going to move you into the money category because Queen of Pentacles comes out here. This is about saving your time, your effort, your money, your, it is a resource. Pentacles are resources here, right? And when you have good resources, it means that you have good time, good money, good presence. By the way, I'm building up my stamina by doing this longer. By the way, Mars in Capricorn in the 5th house, stamina is not really an issue. But I have to get better at this. It's kind of like playing drums for 4 hours for a thing. You have a friend named D. Jacqueline, is there something connected with you and D right now? Like, are you guys going through the same thing? Or are you in the same boat with something? It's totally a Marley reference. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. Mahalo, Catherine. I love. Are you in Hawaii? I love it. Oh, a long time ago, I had a lady to love. She made me think of things I never thought of. Now she's gone and I'm on my own. Love songs playing all the time. Love song was there all the time. So lady, let me take a look at you now. Kathy, if you're moving, kid. But I think it's a job thing. I think it's an upgrade. And I think you have to have confidence that you're going to move it. That's also meaning boundaries. So one of the other things about the Fool card here, this is about boundaries to me. Kathy, is the Little River Band significant to you? I saw somebody else post it, which is why I started to sing it. Love it. Kevin was your ex-brother-in-law. I love that you are still together with them enough there, Jackie, to have a relationship with them. By the way, that's your karmic value there. By the way, you're still the Queen of Wands. You're still in charge. And Kathy, listen, you guys are knocking it out of the park. It's a Little River Band. I actually saw them when I was like, they might have been the second. Actually, Chicago was the second band that I saw. And then I had a girlfriend hook up with somebody in Chicago, and that's why we broke up. True story. I took her to the concert and she's like, "I'll find a way home." And I'm like, "No, you won't." Actually, it was a different time. I saw Chicago. I'm like, "I love Chicago. I love Chicago. I love Chicago." And I'm like, "I need to go see them." And I go and I see them. Right? I have probably seen what? Kevin is my old neighbor that I was supposed to marry. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, Little River Band is like, and by the way, all these bands are kind of like renewed. They have new parts to it. Like Foreigner has a guy from Dokken, a guy from guy who used to be a road tech for Anthrax playing for them. Like you can't make this stuff up. Like we all know each other, right? Um Tracy Juice is from Chicago. Okay, you guys seem to know this. Hey, Yellow, how are you? Julie, yeah, it's great. They're a great band. They're a great band, and their vibe. So, Catherine, you guys are absolutely, yeah, they're renewed in a big way. And again, part of the reason why companies, why businesses like replace players, like why is it okay that when I go into a Walmart or a Target, I don't see the same people all the time? It's cool when I do, right? Or grocery store. But then if I see a change in the band, I'm like, oh, it's not authentic anymore. And bands like Zeppelin that were like, John Bonham died, it's over. Well, they were kind of at the end, guys. Right? That's some Robbing the Cradle. Will you stop, girl? Listen, when you're backstage, we're all the same age, baby. That's terrible, Brandon. I can't believe you just said that. But that's been Aerosmith's model since 1974. So we got that going for us. The Cure at Universal Studios. It's Friday. I'm in love. Right? Yes, Bethany, I see you there. Thank you. I was looking for you, actually. Not going to lose you here. Bethany. Chicago must be in a nursing home. Listen, that fucking trumpet player almost ended up in the hospital when I found out my girl ran off with her. Actually, we weren't even dating anymore. It was kind of a joke. It was an ongoing joke. And then she had a disc camera and got a picture of her. That's how I talk about dating myself. All right. Yeah. So Tracy, are you in New York? They were just at the Palace in Albany. She's overwhelmed too. Well, Jackie, you got a sister here for that, right? All right, Bethany, here you go. You ready? Ace of Wands. Oh, I should probably share this with you. It's a great read. I should probably share this. Oh, and by the way, Ronnie James Dio was an awesome show. Fool, fool. I always want to sing that every single time. Oh, that's cool. Bethany, the Ace of Wands comes out because it is letting you know somebody from the other side is telling you to get off your ass. Right? You got to face this. I don't alter the cards, and I'm about to prove it. Are you ready? We're just a rainbow in the dark, aren't we? Tower card comes out because you're going to have quick and sudden change. You cannot stop what's coming. You cannot what is already on its way. Nine of Cups comes out here. Hang on, Brandon's got you. You've got the tools, Ace of Wands. You got to burn it down, the Tower. The Nine of Cups comes out because you're going to be okay. This is a necessary thing for you to be happy. If you got to go the other direction, you got to go the other direction. Hope this is resonating with you, Bethany, because this is a hard one. Right? The Magician. This is a manifesting thing. So you were asking for the change. You were asking for the help, and here it is. Right? Hang on, Bethany. I see you there. Yeah, Trish, we'll do. The Tower and the Moon come together because the illusion is over, my friend. That's it. Subconscious is coming to the conscious. The moon, the dreams, the bullshit. Nah. This is about being very real. This is about being in a spot where you are going to be able to conquer this. King of Wands. Woohoo! I love this spread. I'm sorry. You can be upset anything you want to be about this. Holy Toledo. So, Bethany, this is where you're going with this. You manifested a change. Here it comes. The things that were hidden came to light, came crashing down a little bit. Thank you very much. Go home. And then you get yourself the Nine of Cups along with the King of Wands. Bethany, pull the nose up. Just don't hit the mountain. Right? There you go. This is about you getting to the bottom of stuff. And that Tower moment is you getting your gut ripped out. Your team losing on a last-second field goal. This is finding out that loved one left. That is finding out the full truth of why it is that you always felt a little different. What's the adoption thing with you? I don't know what this is. But I'm telling you, though, the Nine of Cups, along with the King of Wands, are you kidding me? Whew. Wow. I actually think this is for the best. Honestly. The Moon card is that deceptive. The Moon card's great in some ways because you're like, this is the dreams. It's the bringing things to reality. And then on the other sides, it's like, screw your dreams. We're only going to deal in reality, harsh reality. And the moon isn't the moon without the sun, baby. And then you have to kick the sun out of the universe, and all of a sudden it feels like it's dark. But that Nine of Cups is sweet, baby. Gotta tell you. Sweet baby James. King of Wands is about you getting up off the mat. By the way, the King of Wands is about the action that you need to have to move forward to be happy. Right? Oh, Janice. Good to see you again, though, hon. Barbara, thanks for encouraging here. 5 Paces. Love that name. Don't know what it means yet. Hope I'm not swearing it at anybody. There you go. So, Bethany, here you go. June 30th, 2020. Actually, March 1st, 2020. My birthday. I'm a Pisces. Leo rising, Aquarius moon. Good luck with sticking around. I get a contract in my email. It had a point in it. That's all I'm going to say. It was generationally changing money. Like, it was going to change everything. Everything. I'm not swearing. And this contract needed to be signed, sent back. I said, I made it. I did it. I am 47, 48 years old. And how old was I? No, I was 46, 47. I don't know. 47. My world is amazing. It's awesome. I'm going to be traveling the world. I have an embedded book deal. It will be on TV replacing a tall, blonde-haired, fingernail, short skirt wearing medium. And then a pandemic hit. And by April 1st, that contract was torn up and no money was exchanged. And the slow drain that happened after that, June 30th, I stayed up all night and moved everything out of a 2,500 square foot space into 2 storage units. I didn't want anybody's help. I wanted to do it myself. I also asked a few people and they were suddenly busy. Yes, Catherine, we see you. And on July 1st, I woke up and I'm like, I don't even know where I'm going to go. I got nothing. I couldn't pay rent. There's a pandemic going on and I'd done a couple of videos. I'd done a couple of things. I'd also realized how I didn't have the right people around me. I was able to reflect. I was able to understand it. I ripped apart the illusion. And by the way, the Ace of Wands, I said, I want to make sure that this goes in the right direction. I want to make sure I'm actually able to help people. And the concept of the show was that I was going to travel the country, set up shows that were going to get recorded, and they were going to be like, is this your grandmother? All that shit. But I was also going to be working with local wellness centers, other mediums just like me that had little centers and blah, blah, blah. And I would get to know 1 or 2 of the practitioners, do a thing on it. They would have an educational piece to it. They would get some run on it. They would get some success on it. It was my way of kind of spreading the love, if you will. And all of a sudden that went sideways. It has taken me 4 years to figure it out. And here we are. Bethany, you can't give up. You can't give up on your dreams. You can't give up on love. You can't give up on any of it. You will get stung, said the scorpion. No, warrior. Keep going. You can't give up on it. You just can't give up on it. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. The best thing that ever happened to me, hands down, was the entire stuff shit the bed. But the thing you got to recognize, Bethany, is that everything that you went through was still good. It was still good. It was still positive. It was still necessary. It is so important that you went through this. Let me tell you something. I buttoned up the new ship. The new ship, bells and whistles. It's not about the bells and whistles. It's about the button and the Denton, right? It is without a doubt the best thing that ever happened to me. Because if I had become the success that they had painted for me and that I had agreed to and the things that I was willing to put out there, I wouldn't have met any of you. You'd have known who I was, but I wouldn't be seeing you guys walk along here and be like, hey, Little River Band. Because a long time ago, I have leaned to love. I'm looking for you here, Trish. Oh, why can't I find you? But you can't give up on this because something else is going to come of it. Every single freaking time. It will come up again. Hey, Trish, if you don't... Yeah, there you go. I'm looking, man. I'm scrolling. There's so many. Here we go, Trish. Finish this out here. The Empress. Dun, 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 dun. Can I just give you a little more love here? Bethany, you got this. Trish, you're going to get it. The Empress, wow. I think everybody's going to know Golden Light Tarot is a household name. First of all, I'm going to go ahead and give you this one too. It also adds up to 21, which is a cycle. So you've been doing some cycle work and you're starting a new one. You're leveling up. This is a level up here, kid. Oh, yeah. Right? Knight of Cups is a new love. This is a new way to project yourself. I think it's a new modality for you. Right? Two of Pentacles. You need the symbiotic to this. And then you get the Page of Wands. This is a new way to do it. You're going to take one of these quick moving wands and discover where you're going to go with this. Congratulations, Black Bell, on the new job. I told you. I'll talk to you soon. By the way, I did get your message. I will get back to you. I have to do it in cycles. If not, I get pulled in 14 different directions. Thanks for joining us, Elizabeth. I'm pushing the hour 3 here, aren't I? I'll wrap it up soon. Don't worry. But Trish, you know what we're looking at here? The Empress with the Knight of Cups is a new way to look at yourself, a new thing to offer the world. 10 of Cups, lucrative. 2 of Pentacles, more in line with your work that you're supposed to be doing. Page of Wands, top of the 8 of Wands. Looks like your get up and go is get up and going. I love everything about this. And by the way, Trish, did you see my shirt? The last time Trish and I hung out was April 8th, 2024. How freaking great is that? Trish and I hung out and saw the eclipse. She's like, "Yeah, I'm going to England, B." I'm like, "Okay." Then she goes, "Yeah, I'm going to go up to New York." Then I go, "Well, we have an eclipse. Why don't you come hang?" I think I made you food. If I care about you, if I cook for you, I care for you. You can always ask me, Trish. I'm right here. I love this spread for you. I can't wait to hear where you want to go with this. Got it? You folly? Good. All right, guys. I'm getting tired. It's 10:30 at night. Join me 8 p.m. on Thursday. Me and Psychic Sleuth are going to do a little bit of a show. I don't even know where it's going to go. We definitely have different styles. I'm not afraid. She has committed herself to doing some stuff. She likes to find people. Good. Text me later, kid. We're going to do that show. And by the way, next Friday, I can't believe we are so... By the way, I was in that link tonight by accident. That's what happened. So I got to make another link. Shit. But anyways. Good 5 paces. Hope you enjoyed it. A little different. Next Friday, Penny and I are going to get together. We're going to be going at noon so that then she can, be at a reasonable hour. It's going to be 12 Eastern, 6 p.m. Central European time. I have 2 other people that are going to be coming on board to do some work with me. Can't wait to have them on too. Here's your opportunity, guys. If you have an idea, something you want to expand on, something you want to say, something you want to go to, let the primer begin. Right? That's like a video of me watching a video of someone making a video. That's kind of cool. Yeah, Kathy, I'm so sorry about that. Glad you enjoyed it, 5 paces. And glad we are in our quiet time chat. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll post it. Yeah, if somebody can save that, that would be great. Anyways, will Thursday have a 12-12 purpose? Always does. 21-12, baby. By the way, Rush, one of the best shows ever. Anyways, guys, always love talking music. And coming off of Thanksgiving, you can get anything you want at Brandon's live streams. I'll see you guys soon. Keep going.